Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a great day. In this video, I want to share a post-burn review of Bath & Body Works Dutch Apple Waffles. This is an online exclusive, so I did have to order this one. I was really excited about the fragrance because I thought this would make a perfect kind of summer into early fall transitional type of scent. Usually for me, before I really get going wholeheartedly on my heavier pumpkin, heavier spice, maybe cranberry or plum type scents, I like to get started with apple. I think it's, again, a nice smooth transition from the summer into the fall. And if there is a favorite breakfast of mine, well, it's a little bit of a tie. I love some waffles. I also love crepes, but I think I might actually be a bigger waffle fan. So I thought this would be absolutely perfect. I think I'm kind of in the minority in terms of my opinion on this one. Honestly, I feel like mine has kind of been struggling, and I'm thinking about actually returning it or exchanging it for something else. I have a couple of candles from this last haul, and you'll see one more review coming up a little bit later on today of another fragrance that's also going back to Bath & Body Works. But for the most part, I feel like my last haul went really well. I did purchase a number of fragrances that I knew that I already loved, and I'm gonna assume that those are gonna burn okay, but obviously we'll see. But in terms of this one here, I'm not overly impressed with the fragrance, and I think it might have to do with the strength and throw. And then also I have been struggling with these wicks a little bit. So we're gonna dive into all of that in this video here. So if you are interested in picking this one up, I'll go ahead and link it at the top of the description box. Reading through some of the online reviews of this one, I feel like I'm not entirely alone. It might be a batch issue, or I may have just gotten a one-off bad candle or something, but this definitely was not what I was initially expecting. So without further ado, like I said, let's go ahead and dig into Dutch Apple Waffles. Per usual, let's go ahead and read through their scent story, although the Bath & Body Works scent stories are pretty short these days. We'll discuss the fragrance notes. I'll tell you what I smell in this fragrance. Then we'll get into the strength and the throw, and then of course end with the overall burn quality. All right, so the very short scent story here reads, the homemade harvest breakfast of your dreams. The fragrance notes are pretty simple. I did not expect this fragrance to be overly exotic. In fact, I liked that it was a more simple, straightforward, I guess, apple gourmand. I really like basic fragrances. If I'm gonna be completely honest, I love a good basic fragrance. I think it's nice to have fragrances that are more unique, more conceptual, maybe a little bit more involved in terms of what goes into it. But man, there's always a place for basics like this. I can tell you that for sure. So, warm buttermilk waffles, baked apple slices, and ground nutmeg are the key notes here. And for the most part, I very much smell the beautiful nutmeg. I love the nutmeg in here. I was actually kind of excited to see no cinnamon listed. I do love a nice Ceylon gourmand cinnamon note, but I feel like cinnamon is used a lot in the fall, especially when it comes to pairing with apple fragrances. And it's nice to see it not listed here, and I can't smell it either. So love the nutmeg. It adds that little bit of that fall spice element without it being the usual expected fall spice. Now, nutmeg is used quite a bit, obviously, but I feel like cinnamon is a little bit more I guess, aggressively used in fall fragrances. I do smell a really nice baked sweet apple note here. When I can smell it, it's a very nice baked apple. It's probably one of the sweeter apples, one of the more like crisp fall apples. So think Honeycrisp, think the Gala apple, the Fuji, really delicious, and a true like baked apple scent. It's not like you just sliced, you know, an apple and that's what you're smelling. It really is like a more caramelized type of apple note, and it is lovely. I love it. But you know what's really missing for me here? There is a slight generic kind of pastry note here, but I'm not smelling thick waffles. I'm not smelling thick Belgian waffles. And that particular like waffle smell, especially those thicker Belgian waffles, it's one of those fragrances that just makes my heart so happy. And I'm not picking that up in here at all, you guys. I don't know if this is a batch variation issue, but a lot of the reviews that I was reading that were positive were saying that people did definitely smell a distinct waffle note in here, but I'm not getting that in mine. I do get the baked apples and I get the nutmeg, and really that's all that I predominantly smell in here. But what makes this even a little bit more, I guess, obnoxious is that the overall strength and throw is really not what I'm used to with Bath & Body Works at all. I would put the strength of this at its peak, and as you can see, I haven't even burned it very much. At its peak, the strength was maybe a 3. I basically had to be standing almost next to this candle to smell it in any kind of way. I could get maybe like a couple feet away and still get something from it, but I wouldn't even really consider it much of a room filler. It's definitely, it's strong enough to where if you walked into a room, you'd be like, oh, there's something happening here, but what is it? Like you'd have to seek it out a little bit, right? So not completely unscented, but definitely not what I think most of us are signing up for when it comes to Bath & Body Works. Usually a strength of throw of about a 7 or even an 8 is the norm for me. That's not the case here at all. The throw, I would have to put probably at about a 2. I mean, I can get a couple of feet away from this one and still smell it, but it's not leaving the room where I'm burning it. It's really kind of even struggling to fill the room. For example, this is our dining room here. It is one of the most enclosed rooms in the downstairs of the house besides my office. There are 2 separate entry points, and the entry points are smaller. They're not like wide openings, I guess you would say, to get into this room here. So the fact that I can barely smell this fragrance in here really says something, because usually this room does a decent job of holding fragrance in. So candles that sometimes struggle, I'll put in here because, you know, I know they'll do well in this room. I just know they're not going to go much further. And so I'll get a whiff usually when I'm walking by the dining room, but you know, I don't expect candles to necessarily spill out of this space here. And it's barely filling this room, you guys. I'm sitting just behind the camera here and I'm getting some whiffs of it, but I'm not getting what I'm used to at all. So the strength in the throw, not great. And also, you guys, the ability of this candle to pull out it's painful to watch. I'm going to give you guys the overhead view here in a second, but I want you to keep in mind that this candle has now been lit for 2 hours and what time is it? 2 hours and 16 minutes. After 2 hours and 16 minutes, this is my wax pool. So let's take a peek. I'm still not fully pulled out. Can you guys see that? It's just creating this little central pool here in the middle between the 3 wicks. But for the most part, it's gonna take about, I think, another hour for it to melt the wax on the other sides here. It takes forever. These wicks, now they are, sorry, let me set you guys down here. They are the thicker tree stump wicks that I really don't personally love. I really seem to struggle with these wicks. Every once in a while I can get one to work out for me, but for the most part, these wicks really struggle. I did not trim them prior to the first burn, but they were pretty short prior to the first burn. So they just seem to continue to kind of struggle. This candle doesn't get very hot. It will pull out if you leave it lit for about 4 hours, and then you'll get a wax pool that's maybe a quarter of an inch. I think that that's the main reason why I'm just not getting anything out of this really in terms of strength and throw. There isn't a wax pool deep enough that develops to really allow this one to get going. Normally I would immediately just pop it into a candle crock, but I'm not gonna do that with this one. I'm actually gonna exchange it. Because this doesn't have the waffle note that I was so excited about, it's not really worth me keeping this just for the baked apple aspect. I have other candles in my collection that give me that baked apple note that have really good strength and throw, and I can easily burn those candles. So it's just not worth me keeping this one. So it's gonna be a rare exchange for me. Yeah, I mean, I'm really bummed because I know a lot of you guys recommended this one to me, and you also had great experiences with it, but this was just a little bit of a dud for me. I'm not saying don't order it. I would say just be prepared to potentially have to return or exchange it if yours performs like mine. But, you know, out of the good reviews that I saw, like, I wish I had those experiences, but I was one of those people that just did not get what everybody else seemed to get from this one. So overall, it's a dud. I'm totally bummed, but it is what it is. It happens every once in a while. Anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions. I do have one more in-depth candle review coming up a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.